Okay, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Victorishka 007, thank you for joining. Posh, thank you for joining. So, Mr. West, thank you for joining as well. So there's really going to be no rhyme or reason to this one. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate it. Crazy. Appreciate it. What up, everybody? So, for those of you who have not actually joined me on Periscope, I am now speaking to the people who are going to be watching this on YouTube. I'm going to be reiterating a lot of things that I have been putting out here on Periscope. Call me when this one finishes, my bad. Yeah, I got you, man. No problem. Yeah, thank you for finally making it, Victorishka. You finally made it to one. So yeah, I'm going to be reiterating a lot of things that I've mentioned. You know, I've been putting out, like last night, for instance, I put out a good roughly 3 hours worth of material on here because it's just something that I like to do. You know, I like to get on Periscope. It could be at the drop of a dime. I don't always make announcements that I'm going to do these things. And so, if you're not following me already, be sure to download the app. All that stuff is going to be in the description of the video. How does it feel to be watching a live recording of something that's going to be on my channel? Most times whenever you watch these things, you know, it's already recorded and everything, you know. Appreciate all the hearts, by the way. Thank you guys for joining. So, behind the scenes, yeah. Jill Valentine, thank you for joining as well. Yeah, man, I talked about a whole lot of stuff last night. A lot of stuff. For those of you, like I said, this is going to be on YouTube, so a lot of you guys haven't even seen this stuff or heard me talk about it, but I've got, you know, I just put out a video where I'm talking about I'm going to be doing my rotation in a CV ICU, cardiovascular ICU, and I'm super pumped up about it. One other thing that you guys should know before I continue is that those of you who are watching live, you're not going to be hearing this wonderful audio. It's going to be post-production whenever I mix it all together. Unfortunately, I can't sync this nice audio up live. But for those of you watching this on YouTube, you're going to be hearing the real thing, the real deal. Yes, thank you for the hearts, man. I appreciate the love. I appreciate all the love that I get from you guys. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to have supporters who actually enjoy what I do. For this podcast setup here, I've been waiting for this little shock mount right here. That's what this is holding the microphone. Thank you, Courtney, for joining. What's up? I've been waiting for that to come in the mail, and I've also been waiting on a mic stand. Now, I would tilt this camera down, but it's going to be a hassle. My mic stand hasn't come yet, so I kind of had to ghetto rig a mic stand from an old lamp. Don't ask me how I did it, but I made it work. I'm resourceful. Jill Valentine, you must have gotten kicked out and had to join back in. So yeah, roughly, this is what the future podcast setups are going to be looking like. And as I mentioned before in my first episode with Nurse Merce, they're not all going to be about nursing. You know, we're going to be just talking about whatever it is that we feel like talking about. This is going to probably be one of the few that I'm going to be putting out of just me talking. Thank you for joining Megahertz. What gives you the most gratification from making these videos? Thank you for starting off with a good question, buddy. What gives me the most motivation is, and I've said this multiple times before, but it's helping others in the sense that, like I said last night, I could be just going through nursing school and doing my thing, and not ever recording it, but you know, to be able to take my experiences and put them on video, and to get the messages, the constant outpour of love that I get from people, like all these beautiful hearts I'm seeing on screen right now. That's what really does it for me. That's where the gratification comes from seeing that the material that I'm making is actually impacting other people in a positive way. Posh, I would spit some bars right now, but you know, I got a lot of things going on and I haven't had time to be making any music. Nursing school is a grind, man. This whole career is a grind. What do you guys think? Let me ask you this. For those of you who are in nursing school, do you think that nursing school is appropriately difficult? Do you think it's too difficult, or do you think it should be more difficult because of what the profession demands? Let me get your opinion on that. And while you guys take time to type up these answers, I'm going to get myself a drink. Also, for those of you out there who are watching this on YouTube and don't have any clue what you're looking at right now, it's an app that you can download on your phone, and I believe it's available for both iOS and Android. It's called Periscope. Again, all this information will be in the description. Warriors, thank you for joining. But what you can do is you can go on your phone, download the app, and then follow me at nurse_bass. And anytime I go live, you can come and catch it, whatever it is I'm talking about. Well, I haven't gotten any answers yet, but what I would say is that in regards to that question, I think that nursing school is appropriately difficult. It should expose us more to the real life nursing. Utopia scares me. The reality scares me. That's something that I've discussed in the past. Nursing school, it's all about utopia. I've said that in a video before too, that I've used that word, that analogy. It's all about the perfect world. What would you do in the perfect circumstances? You walk into your patient's room. I mean, it never takes into account the real world. And, I think nursing school does the best that it can do, but in some regards, some people get set up for failure, in my opinion, because of those things. Like I said, I talked about this before, but once you get on the floor and reality hits you, it's like, I never knew that nursing school was going to be, or that the profession was going to be like this. In nursing school, all we learned about was, utopia, the perfect world. That's what the NCLEX is. But like I said, there has to be a certain system in place, and I guess that's the best that they've come up with for now. Chicarito Baylor, thank you for joining. Matter of fact, going to that point, John Halls at nrsng.com, his little motto, if you've been following him on his YouTube channel, is nursing school shouldn't be so damn hard. And he's got from what I've been able to deduce, he has some strong opinions about education in nursing and how changes should be made, to make learning it more exciting. Trump 2016. I don't really get into politics, but there seems to be a lot of Trump supporters out there. I don't know. So that's why I think nursing school should be tougher in clinicals, less care plans, less papers. Hey, I agree with that. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that for a second. Care plans, paperwork. You go into nursing school and it's all about, you get your 1 or 2 patients and you have to do paperwork on these patients. So your entire day isn't even revolved around, I want to gain the most experience that I possibly can. It's about, okay, let me go into the computer, look up the medications this patient's on, look up the labs that they have been drawn on them and the results. And it's all about doing that paperwork. And I know that there's a purpose to it. There's a method to the madness, but at the same time, like you said, it should be more hands-on. This guy, hold up. Let me see. All right, that guy's no longer in the chat. I don't need to hear about politics. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just think, I don't know the answer, but there's got to be better solutions to the way that education is delivered and to the way that clinicals operate. Jack Firefist, thank you for joining. Dingue, same to you. If at any point you guys have any questions, feel free. The topic here, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. This is generally about nursing, though. The Paradigm Shift is an album by Korn. Didn't know that. Fun fact. It's good to know. Monty just joined. Monty's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. That's Mr. Wes's gal. So yeah, man. There'll be a theme song. What do I wish I would have known going in the first semester? I was actually thinking about doing a video on that. What do I wish? Well, one thing, I kind of already knew. I was pretty prepared because my wife has already done this before me. And thank you for the hearts and the love. I appreciate it. But one thing, I guess, would be like literally the amount of time and sacrifice that goes into nursing school. Hey, Blake, thanks for joining. I wasn't quite aware of the amount of sacrifice that was necessary. And it's a lot. And I think that's something that really does blindside a lot of students. Let's take, for instance, the students who aren't getting on YouTube and looking at other people's experiences, because there's a lot of them. I think that the amount of nursing students or potential nursing students that actually get on YouTube, I would say might be kind of scarce. So those people who have no clue about what they're walking into, I think that really does take a lot of people by surprise. And that's kind of something that I wish I hadn't had a more firm grasp on, but really, how can you until you finally get in there and get into it? Because like I said in one video, like if you're doing prerequisites, you could go into, like, let's say you're taking statistics or something. You could show up, you could miss like 7 days in the whole semester, for instance, bomb a couple of quizzes, maybe an exam, and still pass that class. Like, that's not something that you can do in nursing school. I mean, if you miss 2 lectures, man, you're really cutting yourself short. You really are. What up to everybody that's joining? What's up? Welcome. What we're doing here is we're doing a live Periscope podcast. If you're wondering why the audio doesn't sound as good as it should, is because this microphone isn't hooked up to you guys. It's hooked up to the YouTube video that this is going to be produced in. Do a Miranda Sings impression. Don't know who that is. What up, Vishu Flama? Thanks for joining. How are you trying to innovate nursing with all this social media? How am I trying to innovate nursing? Well, I don't know if you guys can hear that. There's a plane going overhead. I don't know if I would necessarily say, I don't know how I could answer that question in regards to innovate nursing. What I am trying to do is I'm trying to unite. That's one thing I'm trying to do, is unite a lot this YouTube nursing community, because I feel like it is pretty scattered, and I've touched on this before, how there's some big players in the YouTube nursing space who have, 30, 40,000 subscribers and, catch a couple thousand views on every single drop. And there are people, nursing students, who've never even heard of them, but merge the two. So what I'm really wanting to do is I'm wanting to reach out to some people. I'm not going to name names, but I already have, and things are in the works to get some collaborations going so that I can try and expose my followers to more helpful resources. Sorry. How am I trying to merge the two? I don't really know, I'm with the YouTube platform, I'm trying to do different things with each platform that I have. With the YouTube platform, obviously, I'm trying to put out helpful content, motivational things. That's one thing that I really am trying to gear towards now, as some of you could probably tell who have been in these broadcasts, trying to provide motivational content. With the Instagram platform, for instance, I'm trying to put out, I'll put out pictures or videos of surgeries or disease processes, and in the description actually go through and tell you guys about it. My life is watching nursing. Yeah, that's what made me start my channel also. So, trying to put out maybe pictures of disease processes and like actually put it in text where people can read that way and maybe get something helpful from it. The Facebook page is kind of doing the same thing, because I mean, you could kind of look at it as there are different kinds of learners out there. Different people perceive things and take things in different ways. You got visual learners, tactile learners, kinesthetic learners, auditory, or learners like that. So if I can provide different ways of doing things, like through the YouTube channel, you can see me talking about things and maybe see me explain things if I'm doing an ABG video or dosage calculation video, writing on the whiteboard. If I put it on Instagram, you can see a picture and then you can actually read about it if you absorb things better through text. Just trying to give you guys different means and mechanisms of, providing you guys with material, because, no two people are the same. No two people receive things the same. And so that's what I'm trying to do with this. And once I graduate nursing school, it's gonna flourish a lot more than it is right now. Because I have a lot of time constraints on me, man. Like right now, I'm really having to take some time out of my day and studies and things like that to do this, because I like to try my best, to provide you guys with what I can. But once I graduate nursing school and become a nurse, I will obviously be working, but I will still have more time to be able to work on my social media, work on building the YouTube channel, marketing it in such a way that it reaches a greater audience, because the more people that I reach, the more people that I help. That's really what it boils down to. Miriam, thank you for joining. That's what it's all about. I was talking about how I received a couple of days ago, I was talking about how I received this message from this girl, and I don't remember her name, but it was so heartfelt, like how she was truly touched by what I did, or what I'm doing with these videos. And that was like what made it all worth it. Who do you look to for motivation the most? As an artist, a nurse, yourself, family, where does it come from? In regards to my motivation, personally, I think my motivation comes from within. And I feel like, I don't mean to keep saying I've talked about this a million times. I just have to say that because you people who are watching this on YouTube right now haven't seen me talk about this stuff. It really does come from within. What do you do on YouTube? I make nursing videos and things like that to help people. Check it out. It's Nurse Bass. It'll be the first name that pops up. Yeah, it goes back to trying to be the best, things like that. Sorry, I'm trying to find this message. I want to read this to you guys. Nurse_Bass. Thank you, sir, for giving that shout out there. Hold up. Have you ever heard of people being concerned the person going to nursing school? People being concerned the person going to nursing school may change. That they may change. In what? Act too good? No, I've actually never heard that. That's an interesting question, though. No, I've never heard that. That's never been anything that, has ever been discussed in any conversations that I have. If I would think about things like that, I would think that it would almost humble an individual. I think nursing school does that to a certain degree. I mean, granted, you learn a whole lot of things, and so you have a vast wealth of knowledge in regards to anatomy, physiology, and healthcare in general, much more than the general population or public does. But I think at the same time, it would be humbling in the sense that you take care of people and you see people at their worst and things like that. And so there's a very humbling aspect to healthcare when you're caring for people. But no, that's a good question. I've never heard that. Have you heard something like that before? Myself, I haven't. I'm going to read this message to you guys. I just found it. The one that I was telling you, this young lady sent to me. She said, I started following you this break and you are awesome. I binge watched every single video and look forward to watching more. I love how you genuinely just want to help other students and just how real you are. I want to say good luck on your senior year, but we all know it is most definitely not about luck. It's about that hard work and staying on your grind. I feel like that's something you would say. Also, I think that it's great that you took on a CNA position. By the way, for those of you that don't know, I did. It really helps you to appreciate the entire team once you're a nurse. Thank you for taking us on your journey. It's pretty cool seeing it from another person's point of view, and thank you for being you. I just thought whenever I read that message, I mean, first of all, I wasn't expecting it at all, but like that's the stuff that makes it worthwhile. Going back to Mr. West's original question. Because like I said, money can't buy that. You can't purchase that feeling, that true gratification of helping somebody else. I mentioned in a previous broadcast how what I'm really wanting to accomplish with all of this is to make material that's timeless. And I use the reference of like Bob Marley or Tupac, and how it's real cool to think about how even though these people have been gone for years and years, that their stuff, their content still touches people in such a true way. People who've never even heard about them or just getting into them for the first time. Now, not to compare myself and say I'm on that level, but that's the same concept that I'm trying to do here. As long as the YouTube platform never goes away, and as long as my YouTube channel never gets shut down, these videos will live on. And so that's kind of cool. That's kind of a cool, gratifying kind of thing. My ABG video will be out there for years and years, and people can come back to it, and it can help them learn and grow as students and eventually healthcare providers. But another thing that I mentioned before is that something I'm wanting to do is once I graduate, I'm wanting to get out there, and I'd like to get on the road, man. I would like to get out there and visit some various universities or colleges where people would want to hear me come and speak, and go and speak to people. I've done several speeches before, not on any large levels or anything like that, but I like to look at myself and think that I'm a motivational speaker, or that I have something to offer to young and upcoming students. There's actually a lady who doesn't stay too far away from me, which I recently found out, named Katie Cleaver. If you don't know who she is, she has done wonderful things in the world of nursing, and it's Katie, K-A-T-I, which is also something else I thought was unique. But anyway, one thing that she does is she has her followers, request her. They speak to their, nursing directors or whatever they're called, the people who are higher up at the nursing programs, and say, can we have a guest speaker come and talk to us for, an hour or 2 hours? And she does. She travels around to different colleges and goes and talks to people. And that's something that I would really like to do. Hopefully you'll find something innovative in your journey and give a TED Talk one day. I don't even know how that really works. I've seen a couple TED Talks. I don't know. Do they just invite guest speakers out to come do things like that? If so, that would be something that would be really cool. Very interesting to be able to do. I would really like to be able to travel like that. I would also like to go to different conventions or expos and be able to be a guest speaker at things like that, just to really get involved in this nursing community. Would you ever want to go to a third world country on a volunteer trip? I think that's something, I haven't put much thought into that, but I think that's something that would be really awesome to be able to do, to be able to experience, and if I did so, I would want to do it from a healthcare standpoint. I wouldn't necessarily want to go, not to say it's not admirable or anything, to like go build houses or anything. I would like to go to do something healthcare related. But yeah, I think that'd be really cool. I have a couple people I know who have gotten the opportunity to do that. And it's like one of those once in a lifetime kind of experiences. Like Hey Rona on YouTube, she's done that. I can't remember where she went, but she got to go over and volunteer. Yeah, vaccines. Yeah, it'd be really cool. I've actually got one girl in my class right now who that's her plan. Like, that's what she plans to do once she graduates. I think it'd be cool. For those of you who are in the room right now, I asked this question last night, but I'll ask you because there may be some of you who are in here who weren't with me last night. Where do you want to be? Ideally, if you could choose once you graduate, where do you want to be? What field, what department, things like that. Would you want to work day shift? Would you want to work night shift? One of the reasons that I'm so excited to do this rotation to CVICU is because I'm really leaning towards critical care. And I really think that's something I'm going to enjoy. ICU, ER, things like that. Flight nursing is like a very interesting concept. Can't imagine being on a helicopter just rocking around, you know, hundreds of feet off the ground and trying to save somebody's life or keep somebody stable so you can get to the hospital. Only in your second semester. I also understand my opinions can change so many times. Yep. Yeah, like whenever I went into nursing school, I didn't really have a area or department in mind. You want to be exposed to real nursing in your clinicals? Yeah. I didn't really have a department in mind, so what I was thinking is that I was just going to let my rotations guide me. And I guess to a certain degree, a lot of people do that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. Just like that. But, you know, throughout the duration of my clinicals, I've been, you know, taking care of a lot of trauma patients. And, I mean, even though they're stable, it's been appealing to me. Really think that's where I'm going to end up. God willing, you know. If I could do that straight out of after graduating, like that would be ideal. Although I've heard a lot of people say, I've heard a lot of people say that a lot of new graduate nurses, just because they're new grads, end up doing med-surg, like because that's where the need is, and that's like the units that hire new grads. So it's hard to get your foot right in the door in an ER or an ICU, for instance, right out of the gate. However, I've also heard a lot of people say that if you want to go into the ICU or the ER, they really recommend you do med-surg first anyways. What's one preconceived notion you thought about nursing prior to joining that you learned otherwise? One preconceived notion. I can't really pinpoint one thing. One thing I can say is that I did not know, and I guess this can kind of go back to Posh's question earlier about I think it was Posh, one thing I wish I had known before starting nursing school. I also had no clue how demanding the job is. You know, a lot of and I wasn't this naive because my wife is a nurse, but a lot of the public's opinion or what their thoughts are, the preconceived notions are about nurses is it's the classic, you know, woman in the old-timey nurse's uniform, and they just, you know, I don't know, doing very babysitting kind of work, but it's not that at all. It's like, it's ridiculously demanding physically and mentally. You're juggling 5 or 6 patients, and you know, you clock in at 7 a.m. You get report. You know, you have 8 o'clock medications. you finish getting reported at 7:15 or 7:20, for instance, and you've already got 8 o'clock medications, and you have an hour window before 8 o'clock and an hour window after 8 to give those medications. So between 7 and 9 a.m., you have to give medications. And if you've got 5 or 6 patients and they all got 8 a.m. medications, then you also have to think about, well, how many medications does each patient have? If they've all got 5 or 6, I mean, you're having to give out 30-something medications in this 2-hour window. And they're not all little pills in a cup. Some of them could be injections. Some could be IV medications. You might have to hang bags of fluid, might be an enema. I mean, and you have to really juggle all of those things. And what I have really found to be the case is that nursing is very physically demanding, but the mental demand is so much higher. Nursing is 75 to 80% mental. You have to seriously, when you go into work or you go into clinical, you have to be there. You can't, your mind can't be elsewhere. You have to be there 100%, because like I said, you got all those medications, and not only do you have to administer those medications, but you got to know what those medications do. You need to know contraindications for those medications. Am I going to give my patient this blood pressure medication if, they're borderline hypotensive? It's a lot of knowledge that goes into it, but it's one big mental struggle, so to speak. And I think every nurse out there that may watch this would agree. Would you work in the ER? I would love to do a rotation in an ER. Would I work in an ER? I don't know. I don't know if I would. I would like to think that I would. I like the thought of having the critically ill patients who, they need immediate care. Patient comes in some kind of shock, septic shock, or hypertensive crisis, and they need fluids pushed and vasopressors given and high energy, high intensity that is attractive to me. But on the other hand, I just don't know myself as a person, because I've never been in that environment, how I would handle some of those really traumatic patients. Fresh gunshot victims, or people who've lost limbs, or whatever it might be. And what I mean by I don't know how I would handle it is in regards to, like, do I have the stomach for that? I just don't know. On what floor do you work at as a tech? Let me hold that thought. That's why I really have a big respect for EMTs, man. I've got a couple who are in my class, got the utmost amount of respect for these people, because they are on the front lines, man. They are, and hats off to them. The floor that I work on as a tech is a medical surgical / trauma floor. So, get a lot of fresh post-op patients, a lot of trauma patients, things like that. How do I stay organized? Do you mean in regards to my clinical day, or in regards to classes, studying? I just want to be able to answer that question the right way. I don't want to go off on a tangent about something you didn't care about. Classes and study. How I stay organized is I do everything on my laptop. Shane, please hold that thought. Mr. West, I want to come back to that. Just hold that for me, please. I do everything on my laptop. I store everything on a flash drive. And so within the flash drive, I've got it very neatly organized into folders, med search 3. And then underneath that, I've got my lectures, my clinical work, handouts, just everything's very neat and organized. And I'm not a neat and organized person by nature, but nursing school has forced me to be that way. And then, it's a big balancing act between where do I need to divvy up my time, depending on the need of that particular week. Do I need to spend more time studying because I'm feeling deficient in certain areas, or because I have a test coming up? Or do I need to spend more time working on this APA paper or this project? And it really is sort of like in in a watered down kind of way, preparing you for nursing, because that is what nursing is. It's all about time management and organization. How do you organize your day? Which patient do you go see first based on the acuity? And so that's kind of how you have to work out your weeks, and just take it day by day. That's how I do it. Someone said to focus on the higher credit courses instead of the 2/3. I don't know if you can hear that outside, but anyways, I don't really know my opinion on that. I say focus on them all. I say don't even take a class if you're not prepared to put, the amount of time into it that you need to. Unless it's like communications or some kind of silly prerequisite that doesn't even really matter. And then, by all means, put more effort into anatomy and physiology as opposed to communications. Yeah, 100%. Getting back to Mr. West's question, when was the moment that it all clicked for me that I wanted to be a nurse? So for those of you who may not have been following me for as long, I'll give you a very, very brief background. When I first got out of high school, I was going to go to school. I was going to college to be a lawyer. And I was fresh out of high school, and I was not prepared for what college was going to be, and so I bombed out. Academic probation. After that, I went to work at a warehouse, and I worked at a warehouse for a couple of years. And but it's not like I was not intelligent. I was always smart in high school. Made fantastic grades. I really did. I was just stupid party kid when I first came out of high school. And so, worked in a warehouse for a couple years. Said, you know what, man, I don't need to spend the rest of my life in a warehouse. So I wanted to go back to college. And at this point in time, when I wanted to go back to college, my wife had just graduated and had started working as a nurse. And I found that to be appealing, but I said, you know what, I want to go back and be a physician assistant. When I first started back into college, bombed a couple of courses, and it really became a matter of how competitive is the getting into a physician assistant school. And so what I ended up doing was, because of time constraints, sorry, my dogs are attacking each other. Because of time constraints, I decided to go the nursing route instead. Also because my wife already was a nurse, and so I had a little bit of knowledge about what nursing was. Obviously, I didn't know everything though, but that's why I chose to be a nurse. It wasn't like my wife, or I can't remember who I was speaking with last night on Periscope. They said I just knew that I wanted to be a nurse from the moment I could remember. That's what I wanted to do. That's my life's calling. I wasn't that person. That wasn't me. It's almost like I stumbled into nursing, so to speak, and from there became hooked, and that's how that process worked for me. Really fell in love with anatomy, really fell in love with physiology, and that's how it was. What are your responsibilities as a tech? Please name some that you do. It's all ADLs, activities of daily living. You go in there, you clock in, you got about 10 patients, okay? Sometimes more. I've only been doing it for 2 days. I'm in training right now, but it's a great experience. Your responsibilities: taking the vital signs as often as they are ordered, getting capillary blood glucoses, bathing patients, taking them to the bathroom if they need to go. If you do additional education or training, you can insert Foley catheters, you can discontinue IVs, take IVs out. You may even be able to hang fluids, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. But yeah, vital signs, CBGs, ADLs, that's about it. But between 10 patients, you're busy. It's nonstop. But it's a very good experience. I'm really enjoying it. I'm glad that I'm blessed to have this job. It's going to help me immensely, I think, to become a better nurse. It's going to help me in the long run. Since you have the fancy mic thing going on, give us your best radio voice. You know what's funny is I never try to talk in a radio voice or anything, but I have had so many people tell me I have a radio's voice, or they tell me that I should sing in a choir or something like that. Like, for you who are watching this right now, whenever this drops on YouTube, come back and watch it again, and you'll probably see what I'm talking about. Because I know the quality that's coming through on this mic is 100 times better than what you're hearing right now live. But I don't really have a radio voice. It's natural. My wife's right here. I tried to get her to do this podcast with me tonight, but she declined. She'll be on in the future. Everybody wants to see Mrs. Nurse Bass, the actual nurse. Posh says, "Hey, wifey." She said, "Hey." The Paradigm Podcast. What is your guys' main motivation for succeeding, for doing well in nursing school, or prerequisites? I guess if you're in prerequisites, your main motivation is to get into nursing school. Aside from that, aside from the obvious goals of wanting to get into nursing school or wanting to be a nurse to graduate, what motivates you day in and day out to get up and grind? And let me actually take a look at who all's in here. Katja, you have been silent tonight. My parents pay full, no loans. Yeah, well, that's it. That's a big motivating factor. I had a very brief conversation with Craig, who runs the Keep It Real RN channel, and he said my main motivating factor was to pay off my student loans. That's why that's what motivated him so much. Your daughter is your main motivation? That's awesome. 100%. Yeah. You always want your children to have better than you ever had. Even if you had, a lot, you always want more for them. I think that's a pretty consistent thing. No, I didn't miss your message about healthy lunches. Yeah, it's a hard thing to do. You're so busy. One of the tips that I've given in the past is, if you're making dinner, for instance, one night, make a lot so that you can pack up leftovers and take it with you. Because, school is hectic, time consuming, and you don't always have a lot of time to cook every meal, make it healthy. That's why a lot of people rely on vending machines or fast food and things like that. But so that's your motivation, Coco. You want to have that autonomy. I think that's a good goal. Matter of fact, speaking on that, I was watching this documentary. Sorry about that. Ashley Atkins has an amazing video on that. I was watching a documentary about Kevin O'Leary. He's one of the sharks on Shark Tank. And he was talking about, and he's a billionaire now. He said one of the main motivations for him is he said he called it a traumatic experience. He said his first job was at an ice cream shop, and he had only been there for like a week or two. And the owner, his boss, at the end of the shift gave him a scraper and said, "Get down on your knees and scrape the gum off of the floor." It was part of his job. And he said no, he refused to do it. And she fired him. And he said he's never felt that way before. He's never felt that kind of somebody having that much control over his life And he said from that day forward, he's never worked for anybody ever again. He became an entrepreneur and made billions. And that was his thing, to be truly independent, to be free, to have to rely on no one. I think that's a consistent thing of people who are successful. That's what they really want. They just want that freedom. Of course, I don't know any nurses that have become billionaires. That's kind of like a different story, but same concept, same underlying theme. I think we all have different motivations, different unique things. Like Posh said, it's for your child. You want to do the best for them. I've got another lady who follows me. Her name is escaping me right now, but she said the same thing. Jordan's mom is her name. That's her same thing, is wanting to provide for her child. And I think that's a very strong emotion, a very strong motivating factor, is when you're doing something for somebody else that you care about. It almost drives you even more than a self-motivating kind of thing. What motivates me? I really don't want to feel like I'm beating this horse into the ground, beating a dead horse. What motivates me is, to give you a little bit more background, my father, when I grew up as a child, we had it rough, okay? It was financially tough, okay? And he worked in a warehouse his whole life, okay? And one thing he pounded into my head, he always told me, whatever you do in life, try your best to be the best. It doesn't matter what you're doing, even if it's the most simple task. If you're driving from your house to school, be the best driver on the road, just to really implement that value of trying to be the best. And he also told me to never end up like him. And that was very powerful for me. Kind of going back to Posh and how she said she wants to provide the best she can for her child. Well, my father wasn't really able to do that. And I think he sensed that. I mean, he did the best he could, right? But I think in his eyes, he failed me. And that's why he told me never to end up like him, never end up working, a tough, like a warehouse kind of job. And that's another reason why whenever I was working in the warehouse, I was like, I got to get out of here. I can't end up like my pop. He told me never to end up like him. And so that's kind of what motivates me. That's kind of why I strive to go above and beyond in my studies. That's why I strive to be the best, is because of his words. He really didn't, it was kind of profound. And he probably wasn't even aware of the kind of impact that had on me as a child, but to never end up like him. And I love him, and I'm proud of him, for everything that he was able to do for us as kids. But if it comes out of his mouth, and then he obviously feels like he failed me. So that's my motivation. I want to be the best, man. I want to study the hardest. I want to know the most. If I'm in a room with 10 other nursing students, I want it to be obvious that I'm the best. It's just the internal drive, that fire within. That's kind of what keeps me going. And then obviously, like I've said before, as we grow, we grow, okay? And so I might eventually lose that. That might not be my motivation in the future. Whenever I have a family, my priorities will shift, and I'll be like Posh, trying to do the best I can for my family. But one big thing to add on to that is, because we grew up rough like we did, financial stability is another big motivating factor of mine. To have that stability where I don't have to live check to check, you know what I mean? I can have some money in savings. I can do nice things, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think we all can relate to that, I think the amount of people that grew up with a silver spoon in their mouth is pretty few, and those of us who are going to nursing school and grinding it out day in and day out, we're really trying to do something better with our lives. So, one of 5 children, I bet not. I bet that was a real grind, for sure. Appreciate the hearts, man. Appreciate the love. I feel like I just left confession or something. All I was doing was answering the question. Appreciate the love, the love. 10 minutes. We're going to go for another 10 minutes, and then the wife is making me get off. We got some stuff to do. Very beautiful speech. Well, you're welcome. Hey, Victor Rishka, let me ask you a question. Have you hung out with Rachel P. at all? What powerful words. Well, it's just life, man. It's just life. Have you ever noticed that some of the most powerful stories ever told through books or through movies or whatever have all been true stories? Things that are like, wow, that really happened. It's things that you can actually relate to on a very real, tangible level. That's why I say it's just life, man. We all go through it, in one way or another. We all walk different paths, but we all know struggle in one way or another. Even the people like Kevin O'Leary, who are billionaires and have very little worries financially and can have anything that they want, at the end of the day, they're human, and their loved ones are human. They have emotions. If his mother died, we all have our own struggles. They come in different shapes and sizes. Nobody is immune to that. Wonderful cast. I will see her on one of Fridays on my clinical. Yeah, that was pretty cool whenever I found that out. Actually, I think on Instagram I saw you had a picture with her or something. I thought that was pretty cool. So I had a broadcast last night where I asked everybody what they would think if, they went into class and then their teacher said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know that we're going to have a guest speaker coming in today. I know it's short notice, but here he is." And then I came walking out, like, into your classroom. What would you guys think? What would be your initial reaction? Let me know. Do I want to be a nurse practitioner eventually? I'm still sort of up in the air about it. I think so, though. It's never too late to follow your lead. It's not. It's never too late. I really agree with that. You would scream? That's funny. I'm kind of stuck between, it's all down the road. I got to get through this associate's degree first, but eventually, yes, I want to go into an advanced degree, whether it be nurse practitioner or physician assistant or CRNA, definitely go a little higher down the road, though. That's funny. Yeah, Rachel's kind of a social recluse. I think I've gotten that from her. I'm gonna meet you guys one day. That's another thing that somebody asked me yesterday. They said, would you do meetups ever in the future? Like go to one of the couple major cities in the U.S. and do a meetup. And if my channel ever got big enough, that would be something that would be really cool to do. I would really enjoy that. But the thing is, would people come out? Like if I went to New York or if I went to Miami or Jacksonville or Los Angeles or something down the road, would people actually travel to come see me? I don't know. Have I ever thought about travel nursing? No, I haven't. That's nothing that I probably will ever do in my life. It would be really awesome, but I'm just in a different stage of my life, and I'm not a bachelor. I tried to read that comment. I couldn't. I only caught the beginning of it. Indiana. Yeah. I think that's, man, that's funny you mentioned that. I think that's very valuable, extremely valuable. I know a little bit of Spanish, and I've been thinking lately that I'm really going to dedicate some time to actually learning it, at least from a medical standpoint, learning medical terms and how to generally ask about pain and things like that, because it's very beneficial. It really is. And I think employers definitely look at that as well. Can make you a more attractive applicant, in the future to a job. But I think it's really awesome. I just read something that made me think about something else, and I cannot remember now. But anyways, I don't know. I think it would be really awesome to do some meetups. But I said last night, like, my luck, it'd end up being like 4 of us at a Denny's. Like, nobody would come out. Have I ever thought about collaborating with EmpowerN? Yeah, I have. That's one of the people who, when I was talking about trying to unite this YouTube community, I've been emailing back and forth with her pretty extensively. And then the time came for us to try and do the video, and it's a real clash of schedules. She's busy. She's got a lot of stuff on her plate, and she works as a nurse. And then I'm doing everything that I'm doing. So trying to find a time that really works, it's difficult. So her and I haven't been able to link up yet, but that's one that I definitely want to make happen. Got quite a few collaborations that I would love to do, and that I've been talking to all these people, man. We got quite a few people's phone numbers, actually. We text occasionally. Just trying to get it done, man. Trying to provide you guys with awesome collaborations and content, man. Because, I mean, to me personally, I find that kind of thing to be cool when people collaborate. Like how earlier I mentioned Katie Kleber, Kati. How she's collaborated with Katie Duke on Scrubs Beat on that channel. That's cool to me. That's cool to see two, big people in the nursing game collaborate. Yeah, it'll work out eventually. And if it doesn't, then that's okay too. Any advice for starting YouTube? If I were to give you some advice for starting YouTube, I would say go into it with a plan. Say, okay, this is what I want to make videos about. Know your target audience. Know who you're making videos for, and give them what they would want to hear about. Some other things that I would say if you wanted to try and be successful on YouTube is get a good profile picture, get a good YouTube banner. Make sure you include your social media either on your banner or in your About Me page, and have a good About Me page as well. Whenever you drop videos, thank you, Katja, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I really appreciate that. I really do. Though, like I've said before, those messages just like that are what it's all about. Good thumbnails, good descriptions, good tags, all that stuff is very important if you want to make your video more searchable, to reach more people. And then, just put out content, man. Just get on the camera and just do it. I mean, if you've ever seen any of my original first videos, and I've gotten rid of a lot of them, they're real bummy, but it's a learning process. You get on there and you grind it out, and, you learn, and things get better as you go. If you come to Florida, come to the central part, so everyone has a tutor. Come to Orlando. I used to live right beside of Orlando. YouTube is Nurse Posh. Yes, ma'am. I got you. Yeah, I used to live in St. Cloud. It's right beside of Orlando. Lived down there for about 6 months. Appreciate all the love, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to this first live podcast on Periscope. What my plan is to possibly do some more in the future. Okay, we'll see how this turns out once I upload it to YouTube. I think everybody's going to enjoy it pretty well, though. And yeah, man, I'm gonna have to get off of here, people. It's been right about an hour now, and that's about all that I wanted to do for this. So again, thank you guys for joining. I'm sorry, Posh. I gotta go. I gotta do it. Gotta, got more stuff to do. You guys are all welcome, man. Thanks everybody for joining in, being interactive, being good sports, asking questions, talking to each other. That's what makes it all fun and good. So anyways, I will catch you guys in the next video. As always, it is Nurse Bass, soon to be, and this has been an episode of the Paradigm Podcast. Until next time.